Alright, so I'm taking apart this 403. So at this point, this engine's probably over 40 years old, roughly, give or take. Look at that. This is a beaut. But this makes me happy, because hopefully that means that this engine obviously has never been touched. We're after the block. The short block pretty much is what we're after. I have number 7 heads and whatnot, so but check this shit out. That is just lovely. The distributor was frozen in the block. I broke it off and I'm going to slam it out through the bottom side. We'll get the cylinder heads off and see what that looks like. So this is clearly never been apart. This is good archaeology work right here. Alright, I got all excited because I thought this engine was going to really work out. After seeing the Oldsmobile shaped cake here, you guys can see this is all carbon. This is exactly what happens when you have an exhaust leak into the engine crankcase from the exhaust crossovers. So a lot of time people think this is like neglect, but no, look how strategically placed all this shit is right in the middle. That's right where your crossovers are for the heat risers. So when I saw that, I'm like, cool, it's not been apart. It was to the point where the distributor is galvanically corroded in there. So I'm going to have to, once I rotate it, pound it out through the bottom. It's a first for me. Let's see. What else is good on the list here? Oh, I'll show you guys the interesting part. So as you can see, that cylinder, this is the one that was frozen. If you guys have been following along, I told you guys I bought this and it was seized. This is the cylinder that was causing the issue. All the other ones are good. So we're kind of back to the drawing board. For now, what I'm going to do is be level-headed here, and instead of trying to find another core engine, work with this one, even if I got to spend some money on pistons. I mentioned to you guys that I had talked to Dr. Dan, who's an Oldsmobile guy. He really knows this stuff with the 403. And I shot him a message, and he was real nice and said, I can safely go 40 over on a 403. And I'm taking his suggestions because this guy has bracket raced 403s and proven that if done right, they will live without a lot of fancy stuff. And he recently, I mentioned this before, he did a build with a couple of people involved where they did a stroker crank on a 403, and they proved that the block can be strong as long as you got a good crank. I believe that was the whole thing. It's been a while since I read up on that, but so as you can see, it's dirty, has to get cleaned. So I think another day I'm going to finish taking it apart. I was really worried about that cylinder, and it was for good reason, as you guys can see, but I did clean it up with a hair of 400 and a little bit of penetrating fluid. So the thing would be is I'm going to take this over, get this cleaned. I have to take the cylinder heads that I'm going to use apart, and then from there, I guess I'll just have to take it to the machine shop and see how much it's going to take for it to clean up. I know I can go 40, so hopefully it can take 40. And if I can source a set of pistons, then at that point I will go about it that way. Obviously, parts availability is still an issue, so we're kind of in limbo right now. Either way, this wasn't going to be a fast build. I still want to do it cheap, so we're going to end up using cast pistons. He also gave me a really good part number for standard cast pistons. So if you guys have ever used cast pistons, most aftermarket cast pistons for the Oldsmobile, the piston pin height is usually horrifically off. If you guys go way back, when I did Eric's engine, those pistons were like 45 thousandths in the hole. The forged Speed Pros are usually almost like stock, about 20 to 25 thou in the hole. Err on the side of caution, call it 25, solid. So now that I kind of know where I need to go, hopefully this block cleans up, we get it checked out before we even bore it, make sure it's not cracked or anything, because my guess is that this cylinder filled with water because the valves were open and it got rained on or something, but because it doesn't look bad really. Like, I mean, this is probably one of the worst engines I've taken apart. I'm not going to lie about that, but I got excited when I saw the crud because this is what I want. But not all used engines are created equal. Obviously, this one drove around for a while making Oldsmobile shaped cakes here. So go ahead and proceed with the bottom end disassembly. There's no magic there. And the cylinder heads, which I'm going to go ahead and take the cylinder heads that I took off the runner. Those should be fairly good. So I'm going to take those apart, number my valves, and stamp the heads. And that will probably be more in-depth video about how I take stuff apart and number everything. So stay tuned. This thing is not dead. We still got work to do, but hopefully this will mend out. So share, like, subscribe. We'll see you guys around.